Good morning. I'd like to first thank the organizers for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to share with you our experience in Hong Kong and with a bit of perspectives from Asia. And the theme of this session is the role of the institution. So what I would like to do will be, I will first give a little bit of a brief overview of the University of Hong Kong, and then I will try to highlight a few issues from our point of view that we could see. But I would also like to assure you that whatever we observe, it is not unique. I'm sure that you will see it around your institutions as well. Then I will follow on to just very briefly share with you what we have been doing in the University of Hong Kong in promoting responsible conduct of research. And finally, I would like to give a little bit of suggestions about what institutions perhaps can do in nurturing a culture of responsible research conducts. The University of Hong Kong is a research-intensive university. We celebrated our centenary just a few years ago, so compared with the Nanyang Technical University, we are a little bit of an older brother. So we are not such a big university in terms of the number of professors. We have just over 1,100 or so. Our student bodies, majority of the undergraduate students are from local because we are a government-funded university. However, for our research postgraduates, it's the reverse. Majority of our postgraduate students are with a non-local source, and among them, quite a significant percentage of them are from mainland China as well because of our geographical location as well as basically the population of mainland China. So we are a comprehensive university. Other than the STEM subjects, we also have arts and humanities and social sciences and so on. So the vision of the University of Hong Kong is what we call the 3+1I. This includes internationalization, innovation, interdisciplinarity, and all three of these I's converge on impact. So having an impact either on teaching and learning or research on the societal is really what the university is committed ourselves towards in the next 10 years. So this also summarizes a little bit about the research landscape in the University of Hong Kong. I told you that we celebrated our centenary just a few years ago. However, as a research-intensive university, we are very, very young. Our government only started establishing a research grant council in the year 1991, exactly the year that NTU was established. So therefore, being an older brother, but in research, we are really similar age. So entering international competitive research arena, we are also new. So this is a summary of report since inception. This is downloaded from our Research Grant Council in terms of our total research output. This is mainly in the form of research publications. You also see that every now and then we will be subjected to research assessment exercise. So this is what the government and the Research Grant Council is imposed on all the institutions in Hong Kong. So we have this cyclical assessment of our research. Now, bearing in mind, this is assessment of research outcome, not assessment of research quality. Fortunate for us that our government and the Research Grant Council is also a competitive organization, so to speak, with an international standard. So for all the research assessment, it is always quality. It is not about submitting how many number of publications, but rather we follow quite closely a UK research assessment exercise. That is, even using this terminology, if you're familiar with it, 3-star, 4-star outputs. And the next research assessment exercise is already scheduled. It will be in 2019-2020. It will also follow the UK REF sort of framework. Therefore, the next assessment that we'll be facing will be impact. It's not just whether your publications are in so-called high impact factor journals, but we have to demonstrate the impact of our research activity beyond the academia. So this is the research scene that the University of Hong Kong and institutions in Hong Kong are facing. And it is also the expectation of our the government and the grant bodies. The second aspect about research in Hong Kong, and I think it also rings a bell to a lot of the institutions worldwide, is that We are an international university. We are extremely good collaborators. We collaborate with a lot of institutions and countries in the world. So this is, again, a summary from our websites that this is a number of active collaborative projects that we are carrying out, throughout these years. And the red highlights in the world map highlights sort of the countries where we have either collaborative grant application or research output that are generated through this type of collaboration. On this right-hand side, sorry. Here, on the right-hand side of this chart, this is just taken from Nature Index that summarizes 5 of the universities in Hong Kong in terms of our collaboration with the region. So the first one in the bar, this is the University of Hong Kong. Again, we obviously outcompete the other local universities in Hong Kong in the way that we collaborate with other institutions. And the profile of our collaborators are slightly different. By and large, the University of Hong Kong is very international. Our collaborators are mainly in Europe, in North America, but also in the region. And relative to our younger brother, that is the University of Science and Technology, their collaborators tend to be a little bit more regional. But nevertheless, I think research today is a global picture. Most, particularly when you're talking about having high impact or having a significant contribution to the society, either in your specific discipline or interdisciplinary research, I think cross-border collaboration is a very, very significant portion of the work. And it will also bring in specific issues about, in terms of research integrity, that is practices, heterogeneous practices in different institutions and region and location. So I would also like to share with you a little bit about the research in mainland China, and that is just for all of us to be aware, as a lot of the institutions are also our own research collaborators as well. I think we all know that the productivity, the research output of mainland China have surged tremendously over the last even just 5 years or so. So this is again taken from Nature Index. It's already a couple of years old, but I like the graphics. It's better than the latest numbers. The graphics, The graphics to show you, this line is the overall research output of mainland China in percentage of the total output of the world. So it has already gone up to about 20% in 2015, but this line is coming up very, very quickly. By this year, it is already surging to 25%, and the line is going up. In terms of the institutions that are doing a lot of the quality output, this is the Chinese Academy of Sciences and a few other well-known universities. Each of these boxes represent a certain number of publications. And among these huge number of publications, a significant portion, the darker color boxes, are the ones that are reaching so-called 10%, the top 10% of the world. I think these are probably measured by impact factor, high impact factor research output. Whether you buy in this research impact factor as an indication of impact or of quality of research or not, among such a large volume of research work that is generated, some of these is bound to be very important, very influential, and very good quality. At the same time, as our president of NTU, Professor Anderson just said, nobody is immune from research integrity issues. There is publication retractions coming out from everywhere in the world. So therefore, with just volume of work that are coming out from various regions, including China, and China being our very, very close ally as well as collaborators, there are various issues that we need to address, and the way that we address these issues need to be changed with time. Now, a few weeks ago, we just organized a research colloquium in the University of Hong Kong. It's extremely popular. The room was packed. Everybody was interested in it. We have institutions from mainland China participating as well. All the universities, from an institutional point of view, are very, very interested in ranking. This is probably perhaps a little bit more stronger as a feeling in Asia. Like KPI is the key word in Singapore. We are less driven as in Singapore, but ranking is very important. reputation is very important for our institution. I'm also a frontline researcher. I'm also engaged in work such as promotion and tenure of our colleagues. For a researcher, impact of your publication is so important. The career progression that is so closely linked with the research output. So therefore, research and research quality is all skewed towards whether these publications are appearing in reputable journals, high impact factor journals, and it is an industry to work out all these various metrics to measure quality research. You may even try to measure how big the impact is, impactful research. There is no mention of something in the middle, that is how these research are generated, responsible research. How do you know whether these research are carried out accurately, reproducibly, and whether they are done well? Part of the Amsterdam agenda, I learned, is for all of us to get together to really input into whether there is any way for us to see whether any activity in promoting research integrity will be able to be reflected in certain measurable way. I think that if there is a will for all of us to try to get our effort together, to think about what effort we could put in order to reflect whether certain pieces of research is done well. Because after all, research is to find out the truth. And in a university, research activity is a venue for us to discover new things, as well as a means for training our young researchers and our students, so that not only are they becoming skillful in whatever area that they are devoted to, but they also get the opportunity to learn how to do these things accurately and doing it well. So I will say a few words about this towards the end. Now I'd like to just quickly go through a few things about what we have been doing in the University of Hong Kong. As a competitive research institute, we are new. In terms of research integrity and promotion of research integrity, we are also very young. So therefore, I would like to share with all of you is that if in a sort of a university that is only beginning to get into creating an environment that is conducive for responsible research, whatever that we can do, it should be a learning curve, a learning that all of us can share. We only started putting in policies, but very clearly spelled out policies on research integrity in 2011. We constantly update our policies. In 2013, we updated it, and the latest update is only a few months ago, in February this year, with an addition of a whistleblower particular description and the responsibility of the both parties. The Vice President of Research is in charge of the research integrity investigation. I myself, as the Associate Vice President, I look after the rest of the other research integrity activities in the university. It will also be my role to convince the university, the Vice President and the President, if there is certain need in investing in any aspect of promotion of research integrity. So this will be my role. We have faculty representatives that are closer to home to all our staff and our students. Whenever there is any issue that are coming up, they know who they should be contacted in the first place. We also have a Director and Deputy Director for Education and Development. These are my colleagues, Frederick Leung and Danny Chen, and both of them are in this conference during these few days. So we have policies. We have clearly spelled out procedures for dealing with alleged staff misconduct. We have various clear regulations spelled out in dealing with students, both undergraduate and postgraduate. Of course, we have a whole series of activities for promoting responsible conduct of research. And in these promotion, we include university-wide seminars, and we have research funding schemes to dish out to our colleagues, faculties, individual researchers and teachers. Any of them who are interested, they can apply for funding as long as these activities are to do with responsible conduct of research. So we have online materials. We also have a whole series of educational material that are catered, especially designed to cater for students. These RCR seminars, just since a year and a half ago, we have made it mandatory for all the staff, everybody, whether you are a young researcher, a young assistant professor, or senior clinical professor, they all have to attend these seminars. And if they don't attend, they will not be, they'll be barred from applying for internal research grant funding or conference support or so on and so forth. Of course, this is an extremely difficult decision to make. We are not Singapore, we're in Hong Kong, so it's not so easy to make things compulsory, but yet we made this decision to make it compulsory. And at the end, there were, of course, a lot of objections, but once you get through the initial phase, there are difficulties, but the rest is actually a lot easier. By now, we have held quite a few of these seminars, and I think up to about 80% or so of our colleagues have already attended. And the president himself will appear, he will attend these seminars, just to show that it's not an order for everybody to come. It is a supportive environment and atmosphere that even the most senior member in the university will attend. And the research funding scheme, the RCR research funding scheme, really worked very well. So through this funding scheme, we have had various seminars, workshops, retreat, symposium, ranging from data management to human research ethics, from faculties of medicine, dentistry to architecture, basically because there is funding around and there are 10 faculties. So when this is a vibrant atmosphere, so every now and then you will receive from the bulk email that there is certain activity that have to do with research integrity. So you will hear about that from time to time. So it does work very well in sort of lifting the awareness of research integrity activities. As for the students, our students have to take compulsory research integrity and responsible conduct of research courses. We produce various learning aid as well as case material. I was very impressed by the play that we saw in our first evening. I think many of the issues that the student in particular face is familiar. So I don't know how well you know about your own institute, your own student, your own colleagues in the way that they offer mentorship to the junior scientist students or postdoctoral fellows in their respective laboratory or department or unit. I think from the play, it showed me that whatever I'm going to show you in the next 2 slides is not unique to us. And we are not doing particularly badly. This is just a way of life. In that, we did a survey. This is a very, very initial survey. My colleagues, Frederick and Danny, in their talks, they will share with you much more detailed findings of this survey. But this is just a quick survey of our first and second year research postgraduate students in their perception of responsible conduct of research, whether they know what it is, whether they are aware of, whether they have come across certain experience. So there's a certain percentage in terms of, whether they are involved or whether they are aware, there's certain percentage. And as I said, the number may vary in different institutions or population of students, but I think the phenomenon probably is quite similar because young students probably do not know. And do they get it from their supervisors? The sad thing is, particularly for us, our research postgraduate students are mainly non-local, and they are a major workforce for our research output. Supervisors, in the face of impact factor, high impact factor publications and their own promotion and tenure, they put quite a lot of emphasis in training the students in skills, getting out the results, productivity. How well these work are done sometimes are not necessarily covered. This is the perspectives of the student. Is authorship arrangement discussed? Do they know how to manage the data? Any issues of mentoring? Again, the percentages may be different in different institutions and different settings. By and large, I think these two is just to alert everybody that we do as an institution, other than whatever call and pressure that we face, that it is our business to train our students, to train our researchers. They are here with us to learn. What differentiates an institution, other than the ranking, the research output that you generate, is whether you have a reputation of training students with high quality of research conduct, knowing at least a judgment, learning to make judgment and be aware. So obviously this is easier said than done. I'm sure that we all know about that, but how do you do that? Just before I go to that is that this is just taken from our website, so other than the policies and so on and so forth, we do have a research data record management policy, and it is an area that we are only beginning to develop. We are now making all our students to have a research data management plan before they can pass through their probation. Any of our colleagues who have a successful external competitive research grant, before the university release their grant money to them, they also have to submit a research data management plan. So this is, again, it's a sort of imposing policy and codes and so on, but this is one thing that the institution can do. So other than all of this is that we also try to raise awareness of research integrity a little bit beyond the university, and we held the Asia Pacific Research Integrity Network meeting in Hong Kong just earlier this year, and through there we learned quite a few issues. Similarly, also shared with President Anderson, is that many of the issues that we face are common. So therefore, there are a lot of materials, processes, policy, practices that we can share, and we can also learn from each other. So therefore, I think that particularly in a global research setting, so the sharing and learning from each other is a very important part. So now I would like to share with you just a little bit of sort of thoughts that I have had about what I think the institution can do. And I look at it from 3 different levels. First of all, as an institute, particularly for a university, we need to have a determination and commitment. Every university, if you ask them, they will say that research integrity is the highest priority, the most important thing that the university would see. However, having these words is no good. You have the university or the institution need to put the resource and the infrastructure support, so whatever action has to follow this determination. Just talking about it is no good. You have to really put in the effort. And I have to also say, because our university budget is not an unlimited pocket, many of these are not about money. A lot of this is really about where you want the university to be and how you would like to, what your vision is and how you would like to see your outcome. So first is this determination, and then have the actions to follow. Secondly, after that, of course, you have the whole bulk of activities. You have to have the responsible conduct of research education, and you mustn't underestimate what this everyday life influence can do. The skills training system, various supporting platform, anything that you can share. So this is the actual sort of the day-to-day running and mechanisms that are put in place. So the second area is particularly for the University of Hong Kong that we're putting a lot of energy in. Thirdly, and I really would like to say something about quality assurance as well as risk management. Risk management is easy to talk about. We have safety management. We have, we'll assess various risks. For institutions, particularly those in Asia, when we are also cautious about our ranking, reputation of research misconduct is obviously a killer for ranking and for our reputation. So certainly, if we do not do well, it poses a high risk. So therefore, institutions should perhaps also look at it from this particular point of view. About quality assurance, I would also like to say, this is really for everybody. There are various metrics that are developed as an industry, and these are all just measurement or proxy measurement of how good a piece of research is. But the process of generating this research, there are lots of elements that are coming associated with it. As a university, of course, we are subjected to research assessment exercise. At the same time, we are also subjected to teaching quality audit. We have teaching quality audit that universities need to describe our teaching activity with every step of quality control. If we are required to produce quality control for teaching, why is it not possible to provide quality assurance process or, at least to ensure that there are certain processes in place? I don't know how this crisscross with the Amsterdam agenda in terms of whatever promotion of responsible conduct of research activity that we put in, how we could achieve certain measure and outcome. But however, this is something that perhaps we can all work together in coming to something that is good and useful, helpful for the entire community. So I'm going to one of my last slides now. So the institution, obviously, every every stakeholder is looking at it, with high hope. Publishers, if there are cases, they throw it back to the university. The government, we heard the Dutch minister said, that there may be code and there may be regulations and so on. However, the institution really need to, be responsible to follow these through. And we have relationship with various stakeholders, and one new one is the industry. By the time we are emphasizing our innovation and entrepreneurship to have industry partnership in research, I think we will be going to a slightly different arena. So every institution will have relationships with all these stakeholders, but with different tightness. Some, I know that in the States or maybe in Europe, the grant-giving bodies perhaps are imposing a little bit more monitoring to the institution. However, in Hong Kong, in particular, our government is quite leaving us alone, and our grant agencies also do not require a lot from us. However, as the University of Hong Kong, we look at ourselves. We are outward-looking university. We are not just looking within the university or looking in Hong Kong, because research activity, when we are aspiring to have internationalization as one of our vision, we are looking out. And when you look out, there's only one standard. It's a global standard. Everybody have the same expectation in the way that we carry out research and in the way that we produce our research outcome. So therefore, what we are doing is really focusing on what we can do for training is prevention rather than investigation and monitoring and sanction. So I just wanted to share this last slide with you, is that in the University of Hong Kong, this is that we have institutional and individual levels of responsibility and commitment. Research is expected to be performed by people who is engaged in responsible conduct of research. So with that, I'd like to thank you. Thank you very much.
We have time for one or two questions. Go ahead.
Ian Chalmers, James Lind Initiative. When one looks at the various forms of research misconduct that are possible, the way that I assess them is, what capacity do they have in my field for killing patients? And there are certain things which stand out as increasing the risk of patient suffering. Failure to publish the results of research. Failure to find out what's known already before embarking on new research. Doing bad research. So the question that I have relates to the idea that self-plagiarism is a sin. Plagiarism is theft. As far as I'm concerned, I cannot steal from myself. Furthermore, if I am going to describe work which I've done, it's actually quite important that, for example, the materials and methods sections of more than one paper on a particular research project are preferably identical. So yeah. I would like to hear a defense. It's been mentioned twice this morning. How self-plagiarism requires any attention at all from people who are serious about reducing the harm of failure in these other respects that I've referred to.
Sure. This answer is really very easy. I was in the COPE seminar just last week. The lady just queuing behind you can have an immediate answer for this question. That is, plagiarism, self-plagiarism, partly protocol in delivering certain research process and the outcome. I think there are various guidelines and suggestions specifically about just using exactly the same description on the way that the research is carried out, experiment is carried out. Certainly, I think the field, the community is going to be more and more acceptable for researchers to use exactly the same piece of text, if I understand it correctly. Yeah. As for your other sort of clinical medical implication, so today we are talking about institution and institution's role, but there are also professional bodies. The professional bodies also have ethical guidelines, various guidelines. So the answer to your first part of your question will be cooperation and understanding of the institution with the demand of the various professional societies. It's a collaboration and communication with the two parties. For a university that have clinical medical professions, it is utmost importance that our colleagues are following not just a university guideline, but also satisfying all the professional requirements. Yes.
Yeah, Ginny Barber, I'm from QUT, but until last week I was the chair of COPE. So just to actually answer Ian's point in particular, we completely agree about this issue about the need to use the same words to describe the same
Can you
method.
please focus on a question?
Sorry, the question...
A question, please.
Okay, all right. I'll follow up with Ian about this. My question was about your lovely infographic at the end where the publications, the publishers are off on their own. And I know that's a focus of things at this conference, but I just wondered if you'd like to reflect on your experience for that and if you've got particular suggestions.
The relationship between the publishers and the university.
They're off in the ether.
Yeah. The reason why I put it in there is that exactly the present situation is that the publishers are a little bit outside, and but we publish papers through the publishers, and there are feedback from the publishers, but usually it's the ball thrown back to the institution. And there's very little understanding between difficulties or issues that the institution would face. And I guess it's just really communication and see whether there are various processes that we could develop together.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. Thank you very much.